is smart irrigation, right? So with technology, you can now deliver water to your roots. Like I mentioned earlier, we in Nigeria were too dependent on the rainy season, and with the whole climate change situation, we can't even rely too much on that, because sometimes the rain will just disappear. We need to now start thinking of how we can integrate smart irrigation systems into our farming system so that we can boost our productivity. I also identified precision agriculture, which is basically how farmers are using satellite imagery and sensors to gather real-time data on their crops, soil, even the environment, right? We also have things like robotics. I visited a farm in Denmark last year where they were actually using robots to milk the cows, provide feed for the animals and all of that. So, and this also reduces the amount of labor that you would require to get your job done on the farm. And so we're looking at things like renewable energy. If you go to the filling station today, you go and see how much petrol and diesel is, right? We need to start thinking of alternative sources of energy, such as solar panels and even wind turbines. Solar particularly is something that it's coming up in Nigeria these days. It helps a great deal in reducing operational costs, and it also supports sustainable farming. And then we have mobile advisory services. In Nigeria today, there are a couple of them coming up whereby they start informing farmers about providing advisory services that, look, there's going to be drought in the next coming weeks or in the next coming days. You need to prepare yourself. Just basically advising farmers about what's going to happen in the future based on what they have planned. So, as you can see, right, innovation is not just a trend. It is something that we all need to come to terms with, right? And so, just like I mentioned, you guys in this room, you are the one that are going to start thinking innovatively to see how we can, upscale innovations in agriculture to increase our productivity and increase our profits in the long run. I remember Mr. Tope talking about leveraging. I think I remember clearly, even though my network was bad. So this slide basically speaks about leveraging AI, right? So we need AI is here to stay. AI is going nowhere, and we just have to leverage AI and data particularly. So what can we use AI for? We can use AI to predict. I mentioned it earlier. AI is very predictive. It can help us predict how much we will harvest in a season. It can help us, alert us on, if there are going to be pests or diseases and all of that, right? And then data. There's no data in 2025 and above. There's no agriculture without data, essentially. Like, we need to rely on data to even predict our future in farming and all of that. And then, of course, we need AI to help us improve. We are all agribusiness specialists, right? But the agribusiness will not push itself by ourselves. We're like our chief marketing officers. We have to be able to tell the story of the potentials in agriculture, of the potentials in agribusiness. And AI can help us with storytelling and all of that, right? And then once we have a data-driven system, right, it can help us optimize our operations. It can help us reduce risks, caused by poor timing or climate change or even waste. So basically, AI and data, they are like a combo that can help us turn all of us into smart agribusiness owners who make decisions based on facts. So remember I mentioned traditional agriculture. In traditional agriculture, nothing is scientific, but we just do things based on assumptions. But in today's agriculture, in today's agribusiness, nothing is guesswork. Everything is about science driven. You are making decisions based on facts, not just on guesswork, right? So I'm moving on to the next slide. And here I try to identify some I wish you could see this slide where I am, but you'll get the document later. So this slide, I basically identified 4 areas where I believe young potential agripreneurs like yourself can delve into. And the first is vertical farming. Mr. Tope mentioned this earlier. It's basically planting without soil, right? So you can do that using hydroponics. Hydroponics is, just like you mentioned, creating an environment that mimics the natural environment for your plants to thrive, right? So an hydroponic system is kind of like a container that has up to like over 500 trays where you can plant some crops. The temperature inside is very controlled. The hydroponic system I've seen, it has an AC, it has a water system, but it's extremely effective. So that's one, vertical farming. And then we also have agro-processing in Nigeria. Particularly in Nigeria, the level of waste we have is so high, and we know that there's a gap in processing. So this is an area where I want people to start thinking. And the funny thing, beyond just planting, processing is actually where you can make the most money. Like the real profit kicks in processing, right? So imagine planting tomatoes that has a very, very short life. So imagine planting tomatoes and just selling it as tomatoes. Meanwhile, you can actually convert it to tomato paste, package it and sell and make more money, right? So agro-processing is an area I think a lot of young agripreneurs like yourself, potential agripreneurs like yourself, can look into. Another thing that is really lacking in Nigeria is agritourism, right? So agritourism is basically you have a farming system. Maybe you have animals like cows and goats and all of that. And then you have plants, you have trees, and then you can invite people. It's like going to a park to go and see all the good things in the park. So agritourism is something that I think young people can leverage on. And finally, we have agri-tech startups. So this is not really common in Nigeria, but in some countries in Africa, I've been seeing a lot of it, right? So young people have started building apps. A few though in Nigeria, to be honest, but building apps that can help farmers get advice. Just like I mentioned earlier, advisory services. You can actually develop an app that can provide advice to farmers, not just on the crops that they plant, but market prices, where they can sell, what they can do, what the climate is saying, and all of that, right? So these are the 4 areas I really want you guys to pay attention to. And so what kind of skills, I'm on the next slide, what kind of skills would you need to become a successful potential agripreneur, right? First of all, you need digital literacy. I'm sure all of you are digitally literate. You need to start teaching yourself or start going to places where you can learn how to, use mobile apps, create mobile apps, start getting in tune with AI tools, start conducting research on different farm management tools in other countries that work, right? Another thing is, even though you are young, you need to start thinking about how to sell yourself, how to market yourself. You need to know how to price, how to package, how to promote, right? And we have social media these days. Social media makes it really easy for everyone to have a voice. So it's something that you need to start thinking about. Financial management is next. You need to be able to start learning how to be financially disciplined when it comes to agribusiness, because it's easy to lose all your money. You need to be able to track your expenses. You need to be able to manage your cash flow. You need to be able to know how to pitch your business to be able to access funding, right? And then you need to be a problem solver. That is so important. You need to, because you people know now, agriculture, every day there's always a problem. Rather than running, I even like problems. Problems give me the opportunity to think. It gives me the opportunity to profess solutions. So rather than run from problems, because if you say you want to play in agriculture, there will always be problems. But you must always wear your problem-solving hats. You must be able to tackle challenges as they come, right? You must be creative in your thinking. And most importantly, you must have leadership skills, okay? Remember, you're trying to be potential agripreneurs in the future. You need to have leadership skills. You need to be able to work with teams. You need to be able to work collaboratively with, so many people, because you're going to have to deal with human beings as you go along, right? And so I'm on the slide that talks about the call to action. So call to action is basically saying, this is what I want to urge all of you listening to my voice, right? I want to urge all of you, if you've not even thought about being a player in the agribusiness space, trust me, I've been there, I'm still there, and I can tell you the potentials are immense, right? So you don't have to start big. You can always start small. Just like I mentioned earlier, start researching on things that work. Be curious. Okay, be very, very curious. Technology is evolving, so you have to be curious. You have to start finding out what's happening in other countries and see how you, as a Nigerian agripreneur, can catch up with what is happening. Networking is very important. You cannot be successful in this space without having good networking skills, right? Agriculture is not something you can do by yourself. That's the truth. Even people in your class today, you can collaborate with them to do something really big in the future. You have to start thinking as innovators, right? Think of challenges. Remember I said I don't run away from problems. When I see problems, I see it as an opportunity to even make money. So when you see a challenge in your community, think of how you can convert that challenge into an opportunity. Just like I mentioned with the tomato. Imagine planting tomato, harvesting your tomato, and in 4, 5, 6, 7 days, it spoils. That's a challenge. So think about how you can come up with a solution that can extend the shelf life of that tomato, either by converting it into a more stable form, just like tomato paste that can, last longer, right? And then finally, I want you to be the change. You are the next generation of agriculture leaders, whether we like it or not. You guys are like the Gen Zs of today. Your ideas and your energy can help us in Nigeria, not just Nigeria, Africa, and even the world to build wealth. I want you to be the change. Just have it at the back of your mind that you are the change and you will be the change, okay? Okay, so that brings me to the end of this, my presentation, and I'm on the question and answer session. Right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, ma'am.